The silver ship glided into the conclave docking bay, its earth markings dulled by space dust. Ji-Ho Kim stood at the viewport, watching as the massive station grew larger. She adjusted her plain merchant's uniform and touched the hidden diplomatic credentials in her inner pocket. "Final approach, Ambassador," said the pilot quietly. "Remember, I'm just Trader Kim today," Ji-Ho replied, her voice calm despite the importance of their mission. The ship settled onto the landing platform with a gentle hiss. Ji-Ho took a deep breath. Earth had waited 50 years for this chance. To join the Galactic Conclave. As humanity's best diplomat, she was here to quietly build support before their official petition next month. No one could know her true identity yet. Outside the viewports, aliens of all shapes and sizes moved about. The docking bay. Some had blue skin, others had 6 arms or eyes on stalks. The conclave held representatives from over 300 worlds. Humans were still newcomers to this vast community. Ji-Ho gathered her trade samples and walked down the ramp. The air smelled different here, clean but with strange spices. She blended in with other merchants, keeping her head down. "Halt, Earth vessel," a deep voice boomed across the bay. The crowd parted. A tall figure in white robes approached. Ji-Ho recognized the distinctive red skin and horn ridges of a Taurian. This was Arbitrator Vex, one of the station's highest officials. "Your docking angle was 0.3 degrees off regulation," Vex said, looking down at Ji-Ho with cold yellow eyes. "A serious violation of conclave safety protocols." Ji-Ho bowed slightly. "I apologize, Arbitrator. Our navigation system must need recalibration after the long journey." "Ignorance is no excuse," Vex said. "Especially from a level 3 species barely out of its home system." Several aliens nearby whispered and pointed. Ji-Ho felt her cheeks warm, but kept her face neutral. She had trained for years to control her emotions in diplomatic situations. "What is the penalty?" she asked. 500 galactic credits, Vex announced loudly, plus confiscation of 10% of your cargo. The crowd gasped. The fine was enormous for such a minor offense. Ji-Ho saw other merchants looking away uncomfortably. Nobody wanted to challenge the powerful arbitrator. Ji-Ho's first instinct was to reveal her diplomatic status, which would exempt her from such fines. But that would ruin Earth's strategy. They needed to work quietly before revealing their full intentions. "Is this standard for all docking violations?" she asked carefully. Vex smiled, showing pointed teeth. "The rules must be strictly enforced for newer species until they learn proper conclave etiquette." Ji-Ho noticed a blue-skinned alien nearby roll all 3 of its eyes. Clearly, everyone knew this was unfair treatment. "I understand," Ji-Ho said. "I will pay the fine." "Wise decision," Vex said. "Report to Administration Level 4 before the end of the day, and make sure your species learns to follow our rules if you ever hope to join the conclave formally." The arbitrator turned and strode away, white robes swishing. The crowd slowly returned to its business, though many cast sympathetic glances at Ji-Ho. A small green alien approached her. "That was most unfair, human friend. I docked yesterday at a much worse angle, and they said nothing." "Thank you for your concern," Ji-Ho replied with a small smile. "The Taurians have controlled the conclave for too long," the alien whispered. "They treat all newer species this way. Good luck with your trading." Ji-Ho nodded and gathered her bags. As she walked toward the station's interior, her mind was already working. This public humiliation was actually useful information. It confirmed Earth's suspicions about bias against newer species. In her quarters, Ji-Ho sent a coded message to Earth. "Discrimination confirmed. Proceeding with plan." Later that day, Ji-Ho stood in the administration office, transferring the expensive fine from Earth's limited galactic account. The clerk, a thin alien with purple skin, looked embarrassed. "I apologize for Arbitrator Vex's harshness," the clerk whispered. "He has strong opinions about humanity's place in the galaxy." Ji-Ho smiled. "No offense taken. Every credit I pay is an investment in understanding how the conclave really works." The clerk looked confused, but stamped her payment receipt. As Ji-Ho walked away, she felt more determined than ever. The Taurians had no idea who they were dealing with. Earth hadn't survived its own brutal history by giving up when faced with obstacles. Soon, very soon, Arbitrator Vex would learn that the simple merchant he had found was actually humanity's candidate for Conclave president. And his minor power play would come back to haunt him. Jiho stood at the payment terminal, watching her credits transfer to the Conclave's account. The fine still stung. 500 credits could have bought supplies for an entire Earth colony. As the machine processed her payment, Jiho noticed the screen flicker between transaction details. For just a moment, she saw a list of fines by species. Earth vessels, 43 violations this cycle. Proxima traders, 37 violations. Centauri merchants, 52 violations. All new spacefaring races, all heavily fined. By contrast, the older races showed almost no violations. Jiho's eyes narrowed. This wasn't random, this was a pattern. Receipt printed, the machine announced. As Jiho took her receipt, she noticed a small alien watching her from a doorway marked Archives. He had pale blue skin and large, intelligent eyes. When their gazes met, he quickly motioned for her to follow before disappearing into the room. Jiho glanced around. No one was watching. She slipped into the archives after him. Inside, tall shelves held thousands of data crystals. The blue alien stood between two rows looking nervous. "You notice the fine discrepancies," he said quietly. "Few do. It seemed targeted," Jiho replied carefully. "I am Lun, senior archivist. I manage all Conclave records." He extended a six-fingered hand which Jiho shook. "You are from Earth, yes? A world I find most fascinating." "Just a simple trader," Jiho said. Lun made a sound like gentle laughter. "Perhaps, though most traders do not analyze administrative data so carefully." He led her deeper into the archives, to a small private office. Once inside, he pressed a button that created a soft hum around them. "Privacy field," he explained. "What I show you now would cost me my position." Lun activated a screen showing thousands of petitions, filed by various worlds. "For 3 years I have watched Arbitrator Vex and his allies systematically delay or reject every proposal from newer species," Lun said, "especially those from Earth." He showed her file after file of Earth's requests for trading rights, cultural exchanges, and diplomatic recognition. All were marked denied or postponed for further review. "But why?" Jiho asked, though she already suspected the answer. "The old powers fear change," Lun said simply. "Humans adapt quickly, solve problems differently. The Taurians have controlled the Conclave for 800 years. They see your kind as a threat." Jiho kept her face neutral, but inside her mind raced. This was valuable intelligence for Earth. "There is more," Lun whispered. He pulled up another file, a private message from Vex to the Taurian High Council. "The humans must be contained," it read. "Their petition for full membership must be blocked, at all costs. Their innovative approaches are gaining them allies among the outer systems. If given equal standing, they could disrupt the balance we have maintained for centuries." Jiho felt a mix of anger and pride. Earth was seen as a threat, not because they were violent, but because they were innovative. "Why show me this?" she asked Lun. The archivist's eyes seemed sad. "The Conclave was founded on principles of galactic cooperation. What it has become is not what was intended. Some of us believe change is needed." A small alarm beeped on Lun's desk. "Security sweep in 2 minutes. You must go." Before leaving, Jiho took a risk. If someone wanted to change things, to challenge the current leadership, what would they need? Lun looked surprised. "Only a full Conclave member can nominate candidates for president. Earth is not yet a member." "Hypothetically speaking," Jiho pressed. Lun considered this. "They would need allies. At least 7 member worlds must support a nomination, and they would need to prove the current leadership has violated Conclave principles." Jiho nodded. "Thank you for the history lesson. Return tomorrow if you wish to learn more, trader," Lun said with a knowing look. Outside the archives, Jiho found a secure communication booth. She sent an encrypted message to Earth. "Discrimination confirmed at highest levels. Have potential ally. Proceeding to Phase 2. Back on Earth, the diplomatic corps received her message with excitement. In the grand chamber of the United Earth Government, 12 diplomats sat around a table, reviewing Jiho's candidacy materials. Ambassador, Kim has found exactly what we suspected, said the diplomatic chief. The Taurians are deliberately blocking all new species. Is she ready to reveal herself? Asked another. Not yet, the chief replied. First, she must gather allies among the other suppressed worlds, form a coalition. Only then can we announce Earth's bid for the presidency. A woman stood and placed a hologram of Jiho in the center of the table. The first human candidate for conclave president. The old powers have no idea what's coming. Back on the station, Jiho sat in her small quarters, reviewing what she had learned. The game was bigger than she had imagined, but so was the opportunity. If Earth could break the cycle of discrimination, the entire galaxy would benefit. Tomorrow, she would begin approaching representatives from other marginalized worlds. The Taurians had made a critical mistake in their strategy. They had given all the outsiders a common enemy. Jiho smiled as she prepared for bed. Arbitrator Vex had no idea that the merchant he had fined was about to change the galaxy forever. Jiho sat in the corner of the Stellar Cafe, a small establishment on the conclave's lower levels, where traders and minor diplomats gathered. Across, from her sat Moro, a representative from Proxima B, his grey skin reflecting the dim light. Your solution isn't unusual, Moro said quietly. Our water filtration systems have failed for decades. Your method uses half the energy and twice the output. Jiho sipped her drink. Earth faced similar problems. We learned to adapt. And you? Offer this technology freely? Moro asked, suspicion in his large eyes. In exchange for your support when the time comes, Jiho replied. No credits, no resources, just alliance. Moro nodded slowly. The Taurians charged us triple the standard rate for their inferior systems, yet you give this away. He extended his hand in the human manner. Proxima stands with Earth. Jiho smiled. 1 down, 6 to go. Over the next 2 weeks, Jiho met with representatives from struggling worlds across the galaxy. To the Centauri delegates, she offered new agricultural techniques that could grow food in their harsh environment. For the Rygan merchants, she provided efficient trade route calculations that would save them months of travel time. The Soltis, miners received Earth's latest mineral extraction methods, perfect for their dangerous volcanic moons. Each time she asked only for alliance, not payment. Each time she reminded them of how the established powers kept advantages for themselves. And each time she gained another supporter. Jiho worked from public spaces, cafes, transport lounges, observation decks, never using official meeting rooms that might draw attention. She wore her merchant clothes, maintaining her cover. Only in private did she reveal small pieces of her true purpose. In her quarters each night, Jiho sent encrypted updates to Earth. The coalition was growing stronger than anyone had expected. Species that had competed for centuries now found common ground in their shared treatment by the Conclave's leadership. At the end of the 3rd week, Jiho met with representatives from all 7 allied worlds in the maintenance section of the station's botanical garden. Among the tall plants from 100 worlds, they could speak freely. The Taurians denied our petition for mining rights again, growled Dex, the Soltis representative. They claim environmental concerns, yet they strip mine their own colonies. They increased our trade tariffs by 15%, added the Rygan merchant. Our people cannot afford basic supplies. Jiho listened to each complaint. When they finished, she spoke softly. For too long, the newer species have been treated as second class. Divided, we cannot change this. United, we can transform the conclave. How? Asked Moro. We have no real power here. Jiho looked at each of them. Earth will soon announce its candidate for conclave president. Silence fell over the group. Then nervous laughter. Impossible, said the Centauri delegate. No level 3 civilization has ever held the presidency. There is no rule against it, Jiho countered. Only tradition and the power of the established worlds. Who is this brave human? Asked Dex. Jiho straightened. You're looking at her. Their shock gave way to excited whispers. A plan began to form. Each world would submit proposals to the conclave simultaneously, overwhelming the administrative system. While the leadership was distracted, they would announce Jiho's candidacy. Meanwhile, in his luxurious office, Arbitrator Vex studied reports with growing concern. Trade between outer rim planets had increased by 40%. Technology sharing between formerly competitive species had doubled. Something was happening among the newer civilizations. "It makes no sense," he muttered to his assistant. "The Proxima and Centauri have been rivals for centuries. Now they have 3 joint ventures." "Perhaps they found common interests," suggested the assistant. Vex slammed his fist on the desk. "Someone is coordinating this. Find out who." That evening, Jiho noticed security drones following her through the station. Her meetings became more secretive, held in maintenance tunnels and cargo bays. Still, the coalition grew. When the Taurians cut water supplies to a Rygan colony over a payment dispute, Jiho arranged for Proxima ships to deliver emergency filtration systems. When Centauri crops failed, Saltis miners diverted food shipments to help. Each crisis became an opportunity for cooperation. Word spread quietly among the outer rim worlds. Something new was happening. Hope was growing. In her quarters, Jiho received a message from Earth. "Candidacy announcement scheduled for the Grand Assembly next week. All preparations complete." That same night, Loon the Archivist slipped her a data crystal. "Vex has ordered investigations into all recent meetings between Outer Rim representatives. He suspects a conspiracy but hasn't identified you yet. We're ready to move openly now anyway," Jiho said. "Thank you for everything, Lun." The Archivist smiled sadly. "I have served the Conclave for 200 years. It's time it served all species equally." As she prepared for sleep, Jiho thought about how far they had come. What had begun as a simple diplomatic mission had become a movement that could reshape galactic politics. In just 1 week, she would step out of the shadows and challenge centuries of tradition. Outside her window, the stars seemed brighter somehow. Soon, humanity would take its place among them as equals, not as newcomers to be dismissed. The Grand Assembly Hall gleamed with light reflected from 1,000 worlds. Curved walls rose to a transparent dome, showing the stars beyond. 200 delegates filled the tiered seats, representing civilizations from across the galaxy. The air hummed, with translator devices and quiet conversations. Jiho sat in the observer section, still dressed in her merchant clothes. Her heart beat faster than normal, but her face remained calm. Today, everything would change. At the center podium, Arbitrator Vex stood tall, his red skin contrasting with white ceremonial robes. Behind him sat the current Conclave President and 12 council members, most of them Taurian or from other ancient species. "The Grand Assembly is now in session," announced Vex. "First, we will address new proposals. One by one, representatives from the Outer Rim planets rose to present their initiatives. The Proxima delegate requested equal trading rights. The Centauri asked for representation on the Security Council. Each proposal represented months of work by Jiho's coalition, and one by one, Vex found reasons to block them. Denied due to security concerns, postponed for further study, rejected as incompatible with Conclave traditions. Jiho watched the familiar pattern unfold, but this time it was different. This time, they were ready. When the 7th proposal was denied, Moro from Proxima stood again. "Point of order, Arbitrator. These rulings follow no consistent legal basis. We request review by the full Assembly." Vex's yellow eyes narrowed. "The Arbitrator's decisions are final on procedural matters." "Not according to Conclave Charter Section 12, called out the Rygan delegate, reading from an ancient text Loon had provided. "All members may call for review of procedural rulings." Murmurs spread through the hall. Many older delegates looked surprised. Few had challenged Vex's authority in decades. "This is highly irregular," Vex snapped. "Who is coordinating these disruptions?" The moment had come. Jiho stood and walked calmly to the central floor. The guard tried to stop her. "Observers are not permitted to speak," he said. Jiho removed her merchant's jacket, revealing the blue and silver uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps. She handed the guard her credentials. "I am not an observer," she said, her voice carrying across the suddenly quiet hall. "I am Ambassador Jiho Kim, Chief Diplomatic Envoy of Earth." The guard's eyes widened as he checked her credentials. He stepped aside. Jiho approached the central platform. She could feel hundreds of eyes watching her. "Arbitrator Vex," she said. "We have met before. You fined my vessel for a minor docking violation 3 weeks ago." Vex's face showed confusion, then recognition, then anger. "What is the meaning of this deception?" "I came to observe how the Conclave truly operates," Jiho replied. "Not how it claims to operate in its charter." She turned to face the assembly. "For 3 weeks, I have witnessed systematic discrimination against newer spacefaring civilizations. I have seen vital proposals blocked without cause. I have uncovered evidence of deliberate suppression of emerging worlds." The hall erupted. In shouts and questions, the president banged a ceremonial staff for order. "These are serious accusations," the president said when quiet returned. "Do you have evidence?" Jiho nodded to Lun, who stepped forward with a data crystal. "All records are here, certified by the Conclave's own archives." Vex's voice rose in anger. "This is outrageous. A Level 3 species has no standing to make such claims." "That thinking is exactly the problem," Jiho replied. "The Conclave was founded on principles of equality among all spacefaring civilizations, yet some now believe that age grants special privileges." She looked around the hall. "Earth and the other outer rim. Worlds have contributed technologies, resources, and ideas. In return, we have received barriers and biases." "What do you propose?" asked the president, looking troubled. Jiho straightened her shoulders. "I formally announce my candidacy for the presidency of the Galactic Conclave." The hall fell completely. Silent, then erupted in chaos. "Impossible! Unprecedented! She can't be serious." Vex laughed loudly. "This is absurd. No Level 3 civilization has ever held the presidency. The very idea is laughable." "There is no rule against it," Jiho said calmly. "I have reviewed every law, every precedent. Eligibility is based on qualifications, not age. You need 7 member worlds to support a nomination," Vex countered. "No one will stand with Earth." One by one, 7 delegates rose from their seats: Proxima, Centauri, Rygan, Soltis, and 3 others. "We stand with Earth," they said in unison. Vex's face darkened with rage. "This is a conspiracy. These worlds have no influence." "Together, we represent 20% of the Conclave's trade volume," Jiho said. "Together, we have solved problems the Council claimed were unsolvable. Together, we are stronger than any single world." The president studied Jiho with new interest. "The nomination appears valid under our laws. Ambassador Kim will be permitted to stand for election." Whispers spread across the hall. Many delegates looked shocked, but others seemed curious, even hopeful. "The election debates will begin tomorrow," the president announced. "This assembly is adjourned while we prepare." As delegates filed out, many stopped to look at Jiho, the human who had challenged centuries of tradition in a single day. Vex approached her, his voice low and threatening. "You have made a powerful enemy today, human." Jiho met his gaze without fear. "No, arbitrator. I have simply revealed one that was already there." News of Jiho's candidacy spread across the galaxy, faster than light speed. From luxury cruisers to mining colonies, beings of all species discussed the human who dared challenge the established order. Public view screens throughout the Conclave station showed debate highlights and candidate profiles. Jiho walked through her market corridor, listening to conversations around her. Some aliens pointed and whispered as she passed. Others nodded respectfully. The election had transformed her from an unknown merchant to the most talked-about person in the galaxy. "Ambassador." "Kim," called a voice. A group of small green aliens approached, their eyes blinking rapidly in excitement. "We are from Kelvis 4. Your water recycling technology saved our southern continent. We cannot vote, but we support you." Jiho smiled and thanked them. Such encounters happen daily now. For every critic, there seemed to be 2 supporters, especially among worlds that had benefited from Earth-shared technologies. In her temporary office, Jiho reviewed the latest polls with her coalition partners. Her support had grown to 30%, impressive but not enough to win. "Vex has been busy," Morrow reported grimly. "He's offering special trade deals to any world that opposes you. Some are accepting." "And the smear campaign continues," added Dax. Yesterday, he claimed humans are too emotionally unstable to lead. Jiho nodded calmly. We expected this. But we have something stronger than bribes or lies. What? Asked a Centauri delegate. Results, Jiho replied. Show me the latest from Proxima's water project. Moro projected a hologram showing green, fields where desert had been. Crop production up 70%, childhood disease down 50%, all from your filtration system. Similar reports came from other coalition worlds. The shared Earth technologies were creating real improvements in lives across the galaxy. This is our answer to Vex's tactics, Jiho said. While he offers promises, we show actual progress. The next day brought the final debate. The Grand Assembly. Hall was packed, with billions more watching from across the galaxy. Jiho stood at one podium, Vex at another, with the current president between them. Vex spoke first, his voice powerful and practiced. For 800 years, the Taurians have maintained peace and prosperity in the conclave. We have the experience, the wisdom of centuries. Can we really entrust our future to a species that was confined to a single planet just 2 centuries ago? When Jiho's turn came, she looked out at the diverse faces watching her. Arbitrator Vex speaks of the past. I speak of the future, she began. Yes, humans are young among the stars, but sometimes fresh eyes see solutions where others see only problems. She activated a holographic display showing the collaborative projects across the outer rim. In 3 weeks, our coalition solved water shortages on Proxima, crop failures on Centauri, and transport inefficiencies for the Rigans. Problems that had persisted for decades under the current leadership. She turned to face Vex directly. The question isn't whether humans have enough experience. The question is whether the current leadership has too much comfort with the status quo. The debate continued for hours. Vex was skillful, using his deep knowledge of conclave history to highlight Jiho's inexperience. But when he claimed humans were too aggressive to lead peacefully, Jiho found her opening. If humans were as aggressive as you claim, she said, quietly, we would not be sharing our technologies freely. We would not be building coalitions through cooperation rather than force. And I would not have peacefully accepted an unjust fine from you when we first met, knowing I could have challenged it with my diplomatic status. The audience murmured in approval. Even some of Vex's supporters looked thoughtful. As the final voting day approached, Vex made his last desperate move. He proposed an emergency measure, requiring all presidential candidates to have at least 100 years of conclave experience, a rule that would disqualify Jiho immediately. The vote on this measure would reveal whether Jiho had enough support to win the presidency itself. The assembly hall was silent as the votes were counted. Jiho watched the numbers with a calm face, though her heart raced. The measure is defeated, announced the president finally. 70% against, 30% in favor. Cheers erupted from the outer rim delegates. Jiho had more support than even her own polls had shown. 2 days later, the presidential election results were announced. Jiho Kim of Earth had won with 65% of the vote, the largest margin in conclave history. As she took the ceremonial oath of office, Jiho saw faces filled with hope throughout the hall. Even some of the ancient species had voted for change in the end. In her acceptance speech, Jiho spoke of a new era of true cooperation. Then she surprised everyone with her final announcement. My first act as president is to create a new advisory council on traditional wisdom to ensure our innovations remain grounded in the hard-won lessons of the past. She paused, looking directly at her former opponent. And I ask Arbitrator Vex to chair this council, bringing his centuries of experience to our new beginning. Gasps and whispers filled the hall. Vex himself looked stunned. Humans understand that progress comes not from discarding the past, but from building upon it, Jiho continued. Not from creating enemies, but from transforming them into partners. Slowly, Vex rose from his seat. For a long moment he stood silently. Then, to the astonishment of the assembly, he bowed deeply to Jiho. The conclave has chosen, he said, and perhaps wisely. I accept your offer, President Kim. As they shook hands, Jiho knew this was more than a personal victory. It was humanity's arrival as a true galactic power. not through conquest or wealth, but through innovation, cooperation, and the uniquely human ability to forgive. In the great beyond, Earth shone a little brighter that day.